Wilson Morales, Black from TV, Malcolm, final chapters. At what point did you decide you wanted to put a series together as opposed to a third film?
I would say that once we couldn't get a third film going, I'd written the script, but couldn't get Universal Pictures to commit to the budget that I thought was commensurate with the movie that I had written. And then with the rise of limited series and streaming services, I felt, okay, this might be a good play. And certainly when I got my deal at Universal Television, I thought, okay, here's an opportunity. And this is back in 2017, right after Girls Trip. So it was around then that I was like, okay, in earnest, let's start working on, how we can make this franchise continue on the small screen.
Now, was everybody on board? It's one thing if you can, it's tough enough to get, actors who are currently, working to do one film, but was everybody on board to, ready to go for a series?
Well, I mean, I think that, they love these characters. I think these characters were very integral to their success in this business.
Hmm.
And so I think that they, were eager about doing it, but the circumstances had to be right. The scripts had to be right. The budget had to be right. The money had to be right, for them to come back. So fortunately, many of those things happened.
Hmm. Now, these characters have been so beloved for 2 decades, and they don't want to see it ending. Like as we do with Star Wars and any of these Marvel films, why call it the final chapter? It's even though we're all getting older, this is film. We can keep going on and on. So why name it the final chapters as opposed to something else? It sounds so definitive.
It is definitive. I think that this is the end for me. I don't see continuing. I don't have, a story in my head that I want to tell next with these characters. So I think it's, right that I tell other stories, that they as actors tell other stories, and leave the franchise on a good note. And hopefully that the audiences feel like, oh, like that's great. And if they want more, that's also great, but there's plenty of movies out there and television shows where they end and then people are like, oh, there's nothing like that,
Mhm.
so if that's the feeling that people end up with, fantastic.
What if this was your first big film? This was your first date. The Best Man was the first film. Obviously, in 2 decades, what have you learned as a director? Now doing television, that you can take on to your next project.
Well, TV is a very different animal than film. um the pace is way faster, and there's you make compromises in film too. Television, you're making more, and you have to like kind of like set your expectations differently in it. Kenya Barris told me when I was, getting into television, he was like, Mal, perfect is the enemy of the good. So you get a good take, move on. And I've certainly learned that, and I think I've applied that in some regards. But at the same time, I want what I want. When I'm behind the camera, and I'm saying like, and if we say, is the compromise one way, that it could either be a compromise in performance or a compromise in time. And so sometimes I have to weigh that and say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to get another shot. I want this shot again, and I want this nuance or this thing to happen in this particular take. So it's by the way, every time you get behind the camera, every time I get behind the camera, I learn something new.
And then there's this cast. You've been with them, and everybody. It's good to see everybody back. How has this friendship evolved over the years?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a cast that loves being around one another. They are uh very integral in my career, at the start of my career, midpoint of my career, and now, and sending it off. This is it's great to reunite with them and to get some finality, some closure with these characters. And they're some of the finest actors in the business.
It's good to see you back. It's good to see this cast back. Congratulations. We will talk down the road.
All right, Wilson. Good to see you, man.
See ya. Wilson Morales, Black Film and TV. It's good to see some friends back in play, playing characters we've known for over 2 decades. When you get the call and Malcolm is preparing another project, how long would it take you to say yes to a series as opposed to a film? Morris?
How long did it take us to say yes to a series?
Yeah, as opposed to a film.
Probably about 3 years. No. No, I think this time it was just a matter of all of us getting our schedules, making sure we're all available at the same time. I think that's what it was for this one.
Regina?
Yeah, I think we all thought it was going to be a film. I mean, when we first I initially said yes, and it was before the kind of, explosion of limited series. Mm-hmm. And so when the opportunity to maybe tell the story over a longer period of time came, and we all were like, oh, we could figure out a window that worked between everybody's schedule, we were excited to jump back in and jump on board.
Mm-hmm.
Your characters are so well loved, that fans have known these characters for a long time. And although it's Malcolm's baby because he wrote these characters, does he give you a little bit of a say as to how you may want the characters come out again?
I think so. I think the thing about it is, we have, there are a lot of characters of service, and there's going to be a lot of opinions because, he's created the characters, but, we've lived these characters. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's been a great collaboration on both parts of him listening to us listening to him, and us collaborating about where our characters go and what we do.
Yeah. Malcolm's pretty generous when we're like, Malcolm, I think maybe she'd say it like this. Is that okay? And,
mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah. I think the feeling is most important.
Mm-hmm.
Each of you have had different projects, but these are the characters that people love. Have there ever been a moment when fans addressed you as a character, if anybody's done anything zany, whether or not they've approached you by your character name, or if they said this is what they hope your character, especially you, Morris, because they want to know at some point Lance may get another love interest and who they want it to be?
I've had suggestions before about.
Really?
Yes, I've had suggestions about who it should be a few times. But you said there's the characters people love as the other one. So do they hate? They hate my other characters? That's insecurity. No. So no. People definitely make suggestions about certain things. After they found out that Mia had passed away. But listen, I just love the fact that people follow all of our characters. And they're really into the storylines, and they're so connected to it that they just really want to see it again. They're invested, exactly.
For you, Regina, this was your first big project, and you've done a lot more since then. So how much of it is coming back and seeing, I'm sure you all get together every now and then, but to come back and playing this role that you started your career off with?
Oh, I think that's probably the best part of it. We actually don't get to see each other like we probably would want.
Right.
Just because people are Morris might, I don't know. I'm more sudden.
She blocks my calls. She blocks my calls. Well, she blocks it. I get my feelings hurt every time I call her. I'm like, I get straight to voicemail. Then I get left on red.
Reach out to me. Other people will be like, oh, Morris, remember when we went? So I don't know. I can only speak from my experience, but I will say what is great is we don't, because everyone is busy and shooting and doing stuff. So this is like a really nice concentrated time to be able to just, kind of hang out. People are in real life. They're married. They have families. They have jobs. And so we get to be like big kids again on set.
I know during Urban World, Morrissey said, why does it have to be the final chapter? Obviously, people want these characters to live on forever. If we can get Star Wars 40 years, we can get, all these other, big films that have lasted a long time. This is the one Black project that people always want. They don't ever want it to see it go away. Do you believe in that?
Do we believe in?
Do you believe in, this series to still keep going on? Forget the final chapter. There should be the best man epilogue.
No, it could be, but I do. In revisiting what the scripts were and what we shot, I do think it's a nice bow put on this. I think the characters all conclude in a way to where hopefully I think the audience will be satisfied.
Mm-hmm. And you've done series before, but when you do this particular series where everybody knows each other well enough, as actors, what do you take on knowing, this is a difference from doing other series you've done before and other films that you're coming back and it's a whole family, whether it be the people in front of the screen or behind the scene? Regina?
I think I think being a family, I think we are a family.
We're definitely a family.
For sure, in front and behind the screen. I think I think just being able to do that mind you, during these interviews, people have certainly reminded us of the time. Somebody said to us, your film started in the last century.
Right.
Last century. So we didn't realize that we went from one century to the next century, but I don't know. I think I that's one of the most fortunate things that I think came from this. I mean, of course, it's the impact on an audience, but it's all the moments. Morris talked about it earlier. It's all the moments we remember that actually aren't on camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the laughter that and the fear.
Exactly.
It's not without contention, but it's the laughter that happens after all of it that makes you realize how connected you are to people. And when you see their faces, you remember when you see each other and you're like, and then you laugh. We have, Morris and I we have fun on set.
Definitely.
So in a way
that's the only time she talks to me is on set.
See?
So that's why I'm glad to work on set with her, because I can't talk to her any other time.
And what's amazing is when I hear how the other people, what they ask you on camera? They ask you who was your favorite.
Who said that? I don't know. What's your next question?
You know what, folks? Time is up, but it's good talking to you guys.
Shucks, darn shuck on me, right?
Yeah, but we'll talk down the road because you guys are always working. So I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Hello, folks. Wilson Ross from Black Film TV. You've had these roles for such a long time outside of what you've done on TV and film. For each of you playing Harper and Jordan, did Malcolm give you an opportunity to shine in as far as how far you wanted your characters to go? Taye?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He's very collaborative.
Yes, and I don't think anybody would continue to participate in this kind of franchise unless we felt, well supported by the writer/writers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mia, anything you want to add to it?
No, what do you want to add to that, Nia?
Well, besides my M&Ms that I like to have during interviews.
Sure.
No, I appreciate Malcolm a lot, and he has very broad shoulders to have, the many different opinions being thrown at him throughout the process from the boys and the girls. Mm-hmm. And we're all like really smart people, artists, and we have a point of view. And, it takes a lot for a creator to stay open, have boundaries, but have the ability for us to still feel heard and supported.
100%.
And I think Malcolm is really great. And I know that I get on his nerves. I know that I do. It's okay though. He loves me. And but it's part of the creative process, right? Like I feel like Malcolm is like a brother to me. So it doesn't matter how complicated the day gets or whatever the challenges are, there's that common thread, which is there's love and respect and appreciation.
It's family, and no one's going anywhere.
No one's going anywhere,
regardless of the words that are exchanged. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Except for that one day where he said that thing to me, I was not very happy.
Right, but you came back.
Yeah, I did.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Once you saw me in that outfit,
I saw you in that outfit.
Yeah, strawberry. Yeah,
it's all good.
He has a lot. He bit off a lot because he's directing a movie with how many people in the cast?
8.
8 leads in an ensemble film.
Right.
And that in itself, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that is something, to 8 people that are used to being number one
on the call sheet.
Yeah, being in an ensemble and getting through not just a film, but a series. So episode after episode. So I take my hat off to him and to us.
Yeah.
As well for understanding.
And also caring about the characters in a way where we want it to be great, not just for us, but for him as well.
You're right. Right. And the culture.
And the culture.
Don't forget the culture.
And the people. People, this is for the people. This is for us.
To the people. Yes.
Lauren, you're next.
Oh.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lauren from Hello Beautiful.
Hello.
You ended with,
Hello, beautiful.
Hi. You ended with for the culture and for the people. One of the things I talked to Malcolm about was just the importance of telling authentic stories. And just can you share a little bit about why you think this movie now into a series resonates so much with communities of color, but also diverse communities? What makes it so authentic, especially from your viewpoint and your roles?
We're continuing something that we started
Yes,
when what we started didn't exist. You know
that's
what I
right.
mean? So I personally, I think we all are, we're very proud. You know, when we read the script of The First Best Man, that was the first script that I had read that was like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember reading the script in like an hour going, oh my gosh, this is so good.
Yeah.
This is like, culture changing. This is an in for us in a different way to explore the subcultures within the Black community and to represent contemporary, sophisticated, educated, artistic people in a time where there wasn't a lot of that happening, right? And all the other stories about our experiences are as equally as important, but this was one of the first that sort of kicked the door in a different way. And you might even call these characters a little bit nerdy, but nerdy in a good way. And I think what is really beautiful about right now is the women that we grew up with are now mothers and professionals and husbands and wives and getting married and divorcing and dealing with death and all of these themes that you really just can't exactly avoid being an adult.
And we get to bring all that to these roles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Blair, your turn.
I'm Blair Moon with EUR Web.
Right, Blair. I love that shirt.
In the Best Man series, Jordan and Harper, your characters are very, close with each other, even sharing some forehead kisses there from time to time. But I want to know, what is the dynamic of your relationship or friendship in this upcoming series? So is it still as close as ever? Is it a bit distant?
The two of us?
Yeah, the two of you, like as your friendship.
It's more of the same. We're a consistent in each other's lives. And I think
feel
that
like I'm a spectator in your life in this until the end.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's distance and then there's not. Sorry to cut you off.
That's
but
all right.
Yeah.
Well, but you're always in Harper's mind.
Yeah.
Right.
It's always present.
We're always with each other. It's
Yes,
just
I would agree.
trying to figure out when we can be with each other. If you get my drift. I hope you do, buddy.
Oh my God.
All right, Wilson, your turn.
Each of you had projects long before, obviously, The Best Man, and then since then, you've had projects afterwards. As actors, having worked with Malcolm and then with each other for so long, how have you evolved as actors, coming back for not only just 2 films but 4 series?
It used to feel a lot easier for me to act. It used to feel a lot easier when I was younger. Now there is a sense of self that sometimes gets in the way.
Oh, you know what?
Like there's a self-awareness that sometimes gets in the way of the work because I feel like since becoming a mom, I'm always thinking about my children throughout the day, which is like I'm sort of distracted in that way. Like, I wonder if they did this or what are they having for dinner? And so I could be like in the middle of a scene and that'll just pop into my head.
This is true.
So when life was just about me,
and acting
was just about me, and that was what I did, it was easier because I was less distracted, but also less aware of my femininity, of my womanhood, of my spirit, of myself, and the pressure to stay honest is bigger.
Ooh.
Representation is more important to me now. And not that it wasn't important then, but it's different.
Well said.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Your turn now.
Oh, my turn? It's both. Yes. It's a lot more difficult to separate life and work, just because life is more than work now.
For sure.
Yeah. But in the same breath, anything emotional, I can get there like that. Where when I was younger, I would have to, go through these exercises and listen to certain music and do certain breathing and think certain thoughts. But I've had enough life experience now where, I've experienced so many different emotions and so many ranges, that whatever is called upon me, I can access it just because I have that experience, because I'm older and I've been through more. So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both.
Well, Smiles Black from TV. It's good to see you folks come back again, playing the same roles that we've loved for over a period of time. So what's it like, obviously, when you get this call from Malcolm and saying, we're going to do a series instead of a film? Terrence?
To be told it's going to become a series, I mean, I've spent the last 6 years of my career in that series world. It has a different tempo. It has a different measurement. It has a different rhythm that if you're not up to, you can become caught in those cogwheels. So I was interested to see how that might affect the truth that we had always told or tried to tell in the cinematic world under Malcolm's direction with a studio in comparison to a network looking after the interest. So that came up. That came up a lot.
Shelby, obviously, you have been the bane of Quentin's life for some period of time. And for you to come back and doing this, and reuniting with all of your friends and so forth, what's that feeling like now that, you get to do more, that we get to see eight episodes of this?
He's talking here.
No,
I was talking to you.
Sorry. Wake up. No.
He was asking if your breath smelled like bologna after the breakfast. No.
Okay.
Say that again. Say the question again.
All right. So the question is obviously, to make it shorter, what's it like coming back, working with this cast and doing it for 8 episodes?
What's it like come back? That's the point. It was great. It's bittersweet because, again, as Terrence said, it's different doing it as a series as opposed to a movie. A movie, you take a little bit more time with each scene, but obviously with a series, you can cover more ground, but it just has to be done at a different pace. But, as Terrence, I've gone back and forth between film and television my entire career. So, both have its ups and downs. But I think that for this generation, I almost think that it was a godsend that it happened this way, because this generation, they like to binge. They like to watch things online. It's not, movies after COVID, it's not really the same. So I think that the timing and the format is actually perfect for where we are right now in life. And I just hope that it's received, the same way the films are. I believe that it will be. It's just being presented differently, but I still think that the fans are going to get what they've been wanting.
Didn't I just talk to you?
As a writer, yes, we see each other all the time.
Yeah,
we see each other all the time. It's a small world. With these characters that Malcolm has written, but you guys have played for so long. Does he give you a say for how you may want the characters to play out, Melissa?
He has to at the end of the day.
Well, he did. He did in a way, maybe more so the first two movies. This time there was a couple of more people involved as far as the writing and the producers, and then there's a network. There's a whole array of a whole new group of people that were introduced to us in this scenario.
That's introduced to the approval process of creative participation.
However, we were
at the end of the day, we were monsters still, and we still got our way and still told our story and still had our narrative. And that's one of the things that made it successful before, because we didn't follow by the stereotypes or the narrative and the agenda being preached. We were like, no, we're going to be real people. And whatever happens, happens.
And because we've known Malcolm for so long, it's been over 20 years, almost 25 years now. And so it's like we're a family. It's almost like we're like a theater group, a theater company. Mm-hmm. And so he has to trust us as much as we trust him. You know what I mean? So we are collaborators at this point. And even from the jump, we were collaborators from the first one. But I came with ideas. I think we all came with ideas, but I definitely came.
You think we're all still friends?
Yes. I came with we're family.
I don't know.
To the end.
Yeah, we're family. We're all still family.
Listen, and family.
We're all still family.
But
we ain't all friends right now. And that's what makes it real. That's what makes the life of what we're doing real. And you look through how some of these characters are played and look for those fractures in the relationships and how we've had to work through, because for whatever reason, the universe keeps throwing us back together, weaving us back into this, and we're going to be doing this for forever. So we might as well continue becoming friends as we're loving each other, but that's what most people are experiencing in the world anyway.
Yeah.
It's all about chemistry, and we love it, and we love to see you guys come back. Congratulations. We'll talk down the road.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Smiles from Black Women TV. Hello, Dayna. How's it going?
Hi, it's going well, Wilson. How are you?
Good. So obviously, you're the new one to this cast, considering everybody's known each other for such a long period of time. Yep. When you're doing a series, this fan base has known these characters for so long. What was important for you to get across over 8 episodes?
What was important, 2 things, I would say. Primarily, it was the idea of midlife metamorphosis. Like, the whole reason to me to tell a story like this right now is because it's worth it to bring these characters forward, and they're beloved, right? This franchise is beloved in culture, in Black pop culture, but it's exciting to catch up to these characters and see, like, where are they now, right? What do we have to say right now? And I think the idea of midlife metamorphosis is a beautiful thing. Like, it's exciting to see when we meet them now, where do they want to go in their lives? What's changed? How are they being challenged, right? How are they maybe recognizing what am I doing in my life that I might want to do differently? How do I want to look at my friends and go, I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, and I want to make sure you understand that. And so that's what was exciting to me about it, was midlife metamorphosis and that foundation of love that these friends have for each other.
Now, this has been Malcolm's personal baby for so long, and he's a director, and obviously on film it's one thing, but on television, director has to share it with the EP, which is you, and so he has to now, so how did that relationship work out, knowing you're coming in here and not telling him, but working so he knows how to get it right for television, and he has to co-share, responsibilities.
You're right. No, but it's a great point. I'm coming in with, opinions, right? Where he's used to maybe being like you said, being kind of the sole voice. It's a great question. When he invited me, in and wanted to meet with me about it, one of the first things I said, aside from saying, like, it's great and, to meet with you, and I'm super excited to even be, in this conversation with you about this, but I said, for me to even consider doing this, I was reminding him, like, in the director's world, in features, like, the director is king, right? They are the visionary. They are the one that everyone listens to. And in television, it's my role. It's the executive producer and the writer producer that has the same role, essentially, that a director does in features. And so I said, it's going to be important to me that we have a partnership, not a sort of like hierarchical relationship. It would need to be a partnership in order for me to do it. And he immediately, agreed and said that he understood. And he said, I know what I want type person. And I said, great, we have that in common, because I am too. So as long as we, again, can come to some agreement, and the cool thing about it ultimately was that our creative voices meshed, like, really, really well. Like, we really had this amazing creative marriage that was really cool, where we might be on a scout in the van and could literally finish each other's dialogue sentences, right? We could pass my laptop or his laptop back and forth and write a scene together. Or we could say like, okay, and then they say this, and then they say that, so we always had this symbiotic creative relationship like throughout. And so that made it pretty easy. Like it was very rare. And of course we didn't always have the same opinion, but it was always pretty easy for us to come to a compromise. And so, yeah, do I think it took some getting used to for him? I'm sure it took some getting used to, because like you said, he's used to being able to call the shots on his own, but he did welcome, to Malcolm's credit, I think he wanted to have a woman as a partner, as, going into series for this. I think that was important to him. And I think he absolutely recognized that going to adapt this series, for television was going to be a different beast. And I think he wanted a partner who had that experience. And he did. He absolutely welcomed, that partnership, which I appreciated.
So just a few seconds to say, obviously nobody wants to hear the final chapters. Could we get more installments?
We put it there in the title for a reason. So we do mean it. But I will say this, this amazing cast and these characters, they have kids. So you never know, like, there's a next generation. We'll meet many of the next generation of the best man in this franchise. You're going to meet, all of them have kids, many of them have kids who are in high school that are challenging them. And those are going to be major storylines. So you never know. But this is the final chapters of The Best Man. We meant it.
I appreciate it. All I can say is that congratulations on the gig. Keep it going. One word, epilogue. Take care.